And they've been telling you a lot of stuff in regards to Tupac and Death Row and how he was signed to Death Row. I have the documents now that proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that Tupac wasn't signed to Death Row, despite the lies that they've told you. Let's get into some of this straight game.
Yeah. Blackjack. Life is like a game of cards. It's not what you dealt, but how you play it. Yeah. Blackjack. To play each situation correctly. I remember they used to laugh at a brother.
Welcome back, guys. Welcome back. It's your boy DELRAY Richardson, platinum artist, platinum songwriter, Straight Game TV. I thank you for tuning in. I appreciate your time. Do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button notification as it pushes the content out to more potential subscribers, as well as the people who have already subscribed to the channel. Also, if you haven't subscribed yourself, please do, and tell a friend. And as I always like to say, if this is your first time viewing Straight Game TV, please do me a favor. If you want to be one of the first people notified when I drop some of this straight game, please hit the bell notification below this video. I'm going to get right into it. Ladies and gentlemen, I have the proof that will put any questions that you might have in relation to Tupac and the Death Row relationship. And I've been looking for this, and I finally have it in my possession, and I'm going to drop this bombshell on you. See, there's been a lot of people pretending to know about Tupac's business and so on and so forth. But what I like to always do, I always like to bring you the documentation along with the conversation, and not just the conversation alone, because that usually the conversation alone usually leads to more speculation. So, but with the documentation, you know, it's usually based in fact and proof, and like I said, duly signed documents and things of that nature. So I'm gonna get right into it, because there's been a lot of lies told in regards to Tupac Shakur that I've been trying to clear up. Ladies and gentlemen, what I have right here is the back of the last page of Tupac's first recording contract, which is dated on August 13th, 1991. And initially, Tupac signed to TNT Records, who had a relationship with Interscope at that particular time. And I'm going to read to you, because this is very important. When I read this to you, you're going to understand what I've been trying to say. And you'll understand that I've been correct in what I've been saying. Not that I'm right, but the information that I have been giving you based on documentation has been on point and correct. So I'm going to do it like this. Basically, it says, and this is very important, because then I'm going to bring up another document and show you how this related. I want you to do me a favor first and foremost, though. Pay attention to the signature that's underneath the Interscope. The person who signed the Interscope. Pay attention to that signature, because that's going to be very important. All right. So now, getting to the reading. Basically, this agreement is entered into in the state of California, and the validity, interpretation, and legal effect of this agreement shall be construed in accordance with the laws of California applicable to the contracts to be wholly performed herein. The parties agree that any action, suit, or proceeding based upon any matter, claim, or controversy arising hereunder or relating hereto shall be brought solely in the state courts of or the federal courts in the state of California and Los Angeles County. Any process in any action, suit, or proceeding arising out of relating to this agreement may, among other methods permitted by law, be served upon you and me by delivering or mailing the same in accordance with the agreement. And here's where it gets, that's paragraph 12. Here's where you get the information that you need. 13. This agreement may not be modified except by an instrument in writing executed by each party hereto. The validity or unenforceability of any provision hereof shall not affect the validity or enforceability of any other provisions hereof. Signed duly by Tupac Shakur, Interscope Records, and Tupac's at that time when they did this deal, Atron Gregory for TNT Records, consented and agreed to, right? Right. So there came a time, and Tupac actually talked about this in his last interview, in where Tupac actually bought out his old management and he bought out TNT Records. I'm going to show you where in this next agreement, it relates to this agreement in reference to the TNT Records and Tupac becoming the successor of in that agreement as relating to his then formed label, Out the Gutter.
I started from scratch with Death Row, a new company. I was independent when I was Tupac. Me Against the World, I just bought my old managers out. I had it all now. I re-signed to be a part of this for my own, for this to make my own shit bigger.
Right? So as we see this, and like I said once again, this agreement may not be modified except as by an instrument in writing executed by each party hereto. So you can't do anything unless they modify this agreement. You can't go with nobody, sign with nobody, be with nobody else. It just simply can't happen unless there is a agreement or a document basically giving you that right to be able to do that. And so now I'm going to point to you, right? Like I said, after Tupac bought his old management out, he then in turn now formed Out the Gutter Records, right? And so when Tupac went to jail, you must understand that that agreement, that August 13th agreement, was still in effect with a new situation in where Tupac then bought out his old management, right? And so this is the reason why they did this document right here. And this document right here was done with Interscope, right? Once again, we go back to the modification agreement done by Tupac, Out the Gutter Records, and Interscope. Listen very carefully because it's going to take you back there. Gentlemen, the following, when signed by you and us, Interscope will amend, modify, and form a part of an agreement dated November 13th, 1993, between Interscope and Out the Gutter Records, ODG Records, as successor in the interest to TNT Records, right? So, 93, Tupac basically buys out TNT Records. November 13th, 1993 is when that happened, because they're relating to the date of when that happened in this agreement as part of the modification and Tupac being able to get out on bail. This was made a part of the bail agreement. This is another document, the modification document, made as a part of the bail agreement, right? And then it goes on to say, regarding the exclusive recording services of Tupac Shakur as amended hereinafter referred to as the recording agreement. Unless otherwise stated, all terms defined in the recording agreement will have the same meaning when used below, meaning this modification as well as the original agreement that he signed. Reference is hereby made to the agreement dated as of October 3rd, 1995, between Out the Gutter Records, Tupac Shakur, Interscope Records, and Atlantic Records. That would be the bail agreement that was attached to this. So they're relating his recording agreement to the now bail agreement, right? Interscope, Tupac, Atlantic Recording Corporation. Regarding certain financial commitments made by Interscope and Atlantic on Shakur's behalf for the purpose of securing Shakur's release on bail pending an appeal from the state prison in New York, hereinafter referred to as the bail agreement, right? ODG Records and Shakur agree that any monies expended by Interscope pursuant to the terms and conditions of the bail agreement shall be recoupable from and otherwise chargeable against any and all monies paid as of the date hereof or hereinafter payable to ODG Records and or Shakur pursuant to the recording agreement, not Death Row, but Tupac's Out the Gutter Records, would be responsible for any monies that Interscope and Atlantic put up for the bail. Excuse me. And then it says, additionally, right? ODG Records and Shakur agree to use their best efforts and shall diligently cooperate with Interscope on a first priority basis in connection wherewith to produce a compilation record comprised of Shakur's heretofore unreleased existing master recordings, right? And this is where this is the final page of this modification agreement. And this is where you understand how Tupac Shakur was still signed to Interscope with these few words right here. And it says, except as specifically modified herein, the recording agreement, the August 13th, 1991 recording agreement, right? That's what this is referring to, right? And the deal that they did when Tupac basically was the successor of TNT Records. Except as specifically modified herein, the recording agreement shall be unaffected and shall remain in full force and effect, right? Signed by who? Out the Gutter Records, assented to Tupac Shakur, and basically yours truly, Interscope Records, which they don't have to sign. As long as Tupac signed it, I'm sure he probably has a signed copy of the document from that perspective dealing with that, because that's how that would happen, right? But I also want you to pay attention to this. Remember I told you earlier in the video, and this document right here is the last page of the bail agreement, right? And I want you, remember I told you to pay attention to the signature, because this one is actually signed by somebody from Interscope, as this document had to be submitted to the court, basically showing how the bail was going to be covered, because Tupac needed a cash bail. He couldn't put up a property bail, right? And I'm going to read this to you. This is the last page of the bail agreement, which was attached to that modification agreement. And it says, contrary, contained in the foregoing provisions, it is acknowledged that the Shakur income shall be first applied to reimburse and recoup the Atlantic expenditures, Atlantic Records expenditures, the money that they've given him, the bail and all of that, if any are outstanding at the time any Shakur income is payable, and then shall be applied to reimburse and recoup the Interscope expenditures, not Death Row, which says that Tupac and Out the Gutter Records was totally responsible for that bail money and the reimbursement of the bail money through his royalties. Right? But go down to that Interscope line again. The same person who signed on behalf of Interscope on August 13th, right, 1991, is the same person, signature, as you can see, right, that signed the bail agreement on behalf of Interscope. And then you have people who signed on behalf of Atlantic Records, but the Interscope signature in particular on August 4th, 1995. On October 4th, 1995. You get it? So no matter what nobody tells you in regards to what they thought was, Tupac's business, what their feelings is about, Tupac signing the Death Row, Tupac, and this proves it with the last page of his original contract, the last page of the bail agreement, and also the modification agreement with the last page of that, basically stating that the contract that Interscope had on Tupac Shakur shall not be affected and shall remain in full effect, right? Based on the modification agreement, and this right here basically stating that the monies that Tupac would have made from the sale of his records and his royalties would go back to be payable to Interscope and Atlantic Records based on the expenditures that they gave Tupac Shakur. You see nothing about Death Row Records. I told you before, Tupac was a superstar. There's no way on God's green earth that Interscope would have gave Tupac or you know, signed Tupac to another label. I understand the business that took place. I get it. And like I said, this takes nothing away from Suge Knight. Suge Knight is a legend as far as Death Row is concerned. And we all know that. Good, bad, or indifferent. You understand what I'm saying? And so from that perspective, but these are the facts. Tupac was never signed to Death Row. And so all of the talk about who did this, Suge did that, Suge, you know, no, he had really nothing to gain other than the publishing aspect. And I showed you guys that aspect, you know, when they gave Suge a publishing deal or renewed the publishing deal for approximately $4 million. So, but at the end of the day, no, these are the facts. This is the final proof that you need to see. And like I said, I would recommend that you show this video or recommend this video to people who would say anything other than that, and so that they can have the truth and the facts. Your boy DELRAY, straight game.